Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Dave Barrett, chaplain in the Sheriff's Office. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Let us pray. Almighty God, like light that dapples through the leaves of a tree and the wind that stirs its branches, like the sounds of the birds from an orchard canopy and the sweet scent of blossom after a spring rain, so you dapple in sound in the human soul. Because of the mystery of your image that is in the soul of every human being, there are depths beyond naming and heights greater than knowing. We thank you that this universal truth we see in microcosm in our employee family. We are thankful for each one who works so hard to serve the citizens of Tarrant County every day. Bless each one in a special way and return to them 100-fold what they do for others. We remember especially today those of our family who have died since our last Employee Appreciation Day. Cheryl Bishop, Sheriff's Office. Scott Christian, Sheriff's Office. Allison Davis, Tax Office. Barbara Lowe, District Clerk. Lee Oliver, Sheriff's Office. John Rhodes, Sheriff's Office. Pamela Sanders, Information Technology. Elizabeth Stoglin, County Clerk. Patricia Terry, Sheriff's Office. Thomas Thompson, Information Technology. Grant unto them eternal peace, and may light perpetual shine upon them. Be with us today in all that we do, and may what we do reflect back that light and love you have given to us all. We ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay.
Ouch.
Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have one agenda announcement this morning. It is under purchasing. It is item 8I2. This concerns bid number 2010-007-A. We're going to hold that particular item for 1 week. Also, just a reminder that Employee Appreciation Day is today, as you can tell by the setup on the lawn, and that program begins at 12 noon. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before us the minutes of our April 27th meeting.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Today we have a couple of resolutions and some certificates of appreciation. The first is a resolution on National Day of Prayer, and I believe we have Ruth Hatton with the Tarrant County National Day of Prayer Task Force is here. Come on down, Ruth, and let me read the resolution into the record. Whereas American history documents those through voyages across the sea, the settlement of the colonies, establishment of our government, wars, peace, famine, and prosperity, each generation relied on the faithfulness of God, who brought blessings and favor through persistent individual and community-wide prayer and thanksgiving. For generations we have lifted our voices and asked, America, America, God shed your grace on thee, and acknowledged our need for prayer and dependence on the mighty hand of God. We are promised, if we humble ourselves in prayer, seek his face, and turn from our own ways, that he will hear from heaven and heal our land, And whereas the National Day of Prayer was first declared in 1775 by the Continental Congress, in 1952 both houses of Congress passed legislation establishing an official day of prayer, and it was signed by President Harry Truman. In 1988, Congress amended that law by a unanimous vote designating the first Thursday in May as the annual National Day of Prayer, and it was signed by President Ronald Reagan. And whereas the theme set forth by the 2010 National Day of Prayer Committee for the 59th Annual Day of Prayer is prayer, for such a time as this, the theme scripture is Nahum 1:7. The Lord is good and refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him. And whereas we recognize the desire of citizens of many denominations of faith to freely come together in unity to offer prayers for this nation, along with communities across this land, for wherever two or more are gathered together in his name, God promises, I am in the midst of them and will hear and answer their prayers. The privilege and responsibility afforded us to freely pray in communities across the land has sustained, protected, and prospered our nation. President John F. Kennedy reminds us that our strength comes from the hand of states, not from the hand of states, but from the generosity of God himself. And whereas we ask for God to hear the prayers of those who pray for the good of our nation and its leaders, God be in our midst, inhabit the praise and prayers of the people, and revise our spirits. May the streams of prayer come together as a mighty flood into heaven, and may your grace and mercy reign on our nation once again. Open our eyes to see and perceive your plan for us. Open our ears that we may hear your voice alone. May God, the author of liberty, watch over and protect the freedom to lift our voices together in prayer as a nation, that our faith would not fail us, that we would reach out to those in need. We ask for wisdom, protection, provision, and favor on all leaders, our nation, our community, and our people. God, protect our soldiers and all those who serve the nation and the community, and watch over our families. And now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do recognize Thursday, May the 6th, 2010, as the 59th Annual National Day of Prayer in Tarrant County. I move its approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Let me bring this down.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I received this, and we thank God for you and for the government we have done.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a ratification of a certificate of appreciation that we'll be giving a little bit later on, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have a proclamation for ratification.
I move ratification of the proclamation honoring Irma Johnson Hadley as Chancellor of Tarrant County College.
Second.
We have a motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Johnson, I believe you have a proclamation.
I do, Your Honor, for Arson Awareness Week. If you would read that into the record, please.
Whereas arson is a serious crime that affects all people and can only be stopped with tools and strategies to combat it in our neighborhoods, businesses, schools, and places of worship. And whereas arson is both destructive and dangerous, burning without discrimination between elderly or infants, or between business, homes, churches, or vacant buildings. And whereas in 2008, 19 arson deaths and 86 injuries were reported in Texas, with property losses amounting to $44.3 million, highlighting the need for ongoing education and intervention programs, coupled with the rapid arrest and prosecution of those charged with arson. And whereas fire is a preventable disaster, which is why it is important to educate the public and why community involvement is essential in reducing arson. And whereas the price that America pays for intentionally set fires is extreme, because in addition to the cost of damaged property, most of the lives that are lost are those of young and the elderly. And whereas while improvements are being made in the wider use of sophisticated investigative techniques, counseling for juvenile fire setters, arson task forces, as well as other anti-arson programs, more community involvement is needed to combat the problem. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim May 2nd through 8th, 2010 as Arson Awareness Week, Community Arson Prevention in Tarrant County, and encourage all residents to report any activity that is suspicious near a house or other building to the local police. Be it further resolved that the Tarrant County Fire and Arson Investigators Association, the Tarrant County Juvenile Services Office, and the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office be commended for their efforts to protect and preserve the lives and properties of our citizens. In witness whereof we have heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 4th day of May, 2010.
I move for its approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously, and I believe our Fire Marshal, Randy, come on down.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be brief and thank the court for recognizing this week, and also let you know that across our county, as city councils meet this week, many of our cities are doing the same as our county commissioners court is doing and recognizing this. And the key to this is to get the community to be aware of what's going on and around their surroundings. And I also wanted to let you know that without the efforts of the Juvenile Services Department, as far as helping us with our Juvenile Fire Setters program, one of my deputies is here today, Mike Rayfield. He is our coordinator of our countywide Juvenile Fire Setters program, which involves a lot of the arson investigators in trying to turn some of these juveniles around. Our Sheriff's Department helps us out a lot on arson cases. And then most of all, our District Attorney's Office has really been good the last several years in taking our cases and prosecuting them and getting good results. And so we're doing the best that we can, and the one thing we want to do this week is encourage all the citizens in our communities to be aware of the surroundings. If they see anything out of the ordinary, just like we do with terrorism and other things, is to notify our local police departments. And I want to once again thank the court for this proclamation.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Randy. Now we'll move to one of my favorite times of court, and that's the recognition of our employees who are celebrating their anniversaries for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. Today we have someone who is celebrating 30 years. We'll be recognizing some folks later on in the employee appreciation when we look at our year that will have actually been with the county this year 35 years. As we go about this recognition today in our employee appreciation, we actually have 66 people who during this year will be celebrating 20, 25, 30, or 35 years of service with Tarrant County. So again, I think this it speaks to the fact that we really do kind of view ourselves as a big family, that folks enjoy their time with the county. It's really an honor. I do usually end up putting it off to near the end of to right before the meetings in some cases. But I really enjoy the opportunity to sit down and talk with folks. I try to catch them on the weekend, really, because that way they're a little bit less stressed maybe during the work, or they don't have their when I catch them at work, oftentimes I hear their workmates behind them gigging them or making fun of them or telling them how to answer or kidding them about what they're saying. So it's usually a pretty good time to try to catch them at home over the weekend. I'm going to start off with our 5-year employees. As I call your name, please rise and remain standing until we've called everyone in that group, and then we'll give them a round of applause to recognize them for their service. So beginning with our 5-year employees, Jerome Adams, Sheriff Warrants. Cynthia Bryant, Texas AgriLife. Elijah Burnett, Sheriff Confinement. Georgia Cartwright, County Clerk. There we go. I was getting a little worried there. Santos Garza, Precinct 1 Maintenance. Dana Harshman, Sheriff Confinement. Peter Inopi, Sheriff Confinement. Cashel Johnson, District Clerk. Connie Lewis, Medical Examiner. Mario Martinez, Sheriff Warrants. Jason Murphy, Precinct 4 Maintenance. Letitia Pouncey, Sheriff Confinement. Dorothea Sanders, Sheriff Confinement. And Michael Simon, Sheriff Confinement. Let's give these folks a big round of applause. Thank you all very much. Now for our 10-year employees. Larry Atkinson, CSCD. Teresa Alexander, Sheriff Confinement. Good morning. Irene Bass, Domestic Relations. Welcome. Ellen Brown, Sheriff Chaplain's Office. Sarita Escondon, Juvenile Services. I hope I was somehow close. At least you recognized it and were able to stand up. Kim Garcia, County Clerk. Isaiah Hilburn, Sheriff Warrants. Tina Horton, Tax Office. Good morning. Michael Moncada, Housing Assistance. Robert Montgomery, CSCD. Sherry Pierce, Constable, Precinct 7. Daniel Potts, Sheriff, Booking. Jennifer Renner, Sheriff, Booking. Larry Romines, District Attorney's Office. James Stone, Transportation Services. Evelyn Villanueva, District Clerk. John Yandel, Sheriff, Booking. Let's give these 10-year employees a round of applause. Thank you all very much. Now for our 15-year employees. Clifton Alcon, Sheriff Courts. Robert Burnt, Transportation Services. Gina Buckingham, Public Health. Bobby Kahn, Information Technology. Judge Bill Harris, 233rd District Court. And Robert Harvey, Sheriff Warrants.
Hey.
Let's give these 15-year employees. Thank you all for listening. Now for our 20-plus year employees, as I mentioned earlier, we do spend a little time with them and call and talk with them, and it's very interesting, and as I said, I enjoy this very much. Our first 20-year employee, and I don't think she's going to be here this morning, is Cynthia Breed from the District Attorney's Office. When I called Cynthia yesterday, she was at work, but she sounded like she was not feeling well. She could barely talk, and I could barely hear her. And so she didn't think she was going to be able to make it down to court. But again, if you see her today, if you're over in the district attorney's office and you see her, thank her for her 20 years of service. Next is Linda Sharon, the district clerk's office. Linda, 20 years with the county. Started off as an associate clerk and is now the administrative clerk. And as we talked, she said, I've worked in actually 7 of the 10 courts. When I asked her, what she liked most, again, it was the people she'd had a chance to work with, the fact that she had made some great friends over the time. And she said, over the years, I've seen a lot of changes in the technology. She said this is the longest she's ever served in a particular job. And then the thing that she kind of said, she said, through this 20 years, I've had a lot of things occur in my life. And she said, whenever those things occurred, the county was always there to kind of surround her and to give her comfort and to just be there to support her, to listen and to help her out. And I am sure that during this 20 years, you've also done the same with folks around you. And I think that's what, again, makes us such a strong family is that, yes, it's a job. We come to work, we do our job, but we go so much further in being there for the people around us, and we care about them. And this is just an example of how that happens. And Linda, we really want to thank you for the 20 years you've given to this county. Thank you very much. Next is Pam Cole with the 371st District Court. Where's Pam? I guess she started off in the hot check department. So as you see her, she now is working with Judge Molly Westfall. She wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it. So if you see her, thank her for her 20 years of service to the county. This next guy, where's Jim Duff? Jim Duff, are you back there? Come on forward. Come on out. I hear him.
Climbing down to this perch.
There you go. There you go. Jim has been with us for 20 years. He said he's still in the same office that he was when he started. That the job has really evolved and expanded. He said, I really wasn't sure I was going to make it much past that first year. He said, there was just some opportunities there where, I think he had a little conference that he may have got the wrong material or brought the wrong beverages for Commissioner Johnson.
He's very lucky.
Yeah, he said that he was really kind of surprised that he made it past that first year, but he said, after 20 years, he said, I finally got GK trained in how he needs to run that office and work with that deal. He said it's been a chore. It really has been a chore, but he said I finally just about got him, to the point to where he knows what he's doing.
You need to stick to the script.
When I asked him about his more memorable moments, one of the things, and we've all, I think, experienced this, is one of the things that Jim does so well is kind of help us when we put on conferences. I know just a week or so ago we had the National Association of County Engineers in. We've had commissioners and judges in. We've got NACO coming in 2013. And one of Jim's many talents is creating the little posters. And every time we have an event, he finds a way to create something new. And I can't tell you how many folks last week commented on the poster that he had designed to welcome the county engineers into the town. He also said that, a memorable event is all the new buildings that we've had an opportunity to open over the 20 years that he's been with us. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the flexibility. And, Jim does do a variety of things for us. from helping us with the conference to preparing PowerPoints to helping through presentations. And as I said, he's had,
And
you know,
to
it's,
driving the float in the parade of lights every
he's kind of our utility infielder. He does, you know, and helps us in many different ways. And another thing, he said, you know, I really like the fact that in my position, I get to see things usually from the very beginning to the very end. And so it really is an opportunity to see things through. As I said, he's surprised that he made it 20 years, but we're not. And you do a fantastic job. And we really appreciate kind of the way you've trained GK. There's still a little rough edges you need to kind of knock off there, but see, and that's the reason why I never call people at work, is because they got people back in the corner making comments. But Jim, we thank you again very much for the 20 years you've given us. If you'd have come in here and sat down, GK, I wouldn't have abused you so much. Next is Phyllis Jack, Constable with Precinct 2. Where's Phyllis? Is Phyllis here? Wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it down. Started off in the DA's office and has actually been here for 22 and a half years. She's one of those, and we got a couple of those this time where they kind of come and go. And one of these days I'm going to figure out why we take that time off. But I'm sure personnel will come and tell me as soon as I'm through with this meeting. Next is Jill Leclaire, who's got 20 years with the county. Jill started off in the Domestic Relations Office as the Assistant Director for Family Court Services. And then when I asked her about her more memorable moments, it was moving into the new building. And when I asked her what she liked most, she said, you know, I just about like everything. It's just been fun. The people she's had a chance to work with, she says, you know, I like the retirement system, and I said I hope you're many years away from it, and I think she's planning on working with us for several more years. She actually moved here from Florida. She said people have always been there through life changes that she's gone through at the county. She's had an opportunity, and this was something that she said, you know, over the years in the domestic relations area, I've had an opportunity to work with some great judges and with some great attorneys and with just some great folks. And Jill, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Thank you. Next is Jim Luttrell in the sheriff in the training department. There's Jim. 20 years with the county. Started off in the low risk area and then to personnel where he was doing background checks, spent some time in internal affairs, and then went back to training and back into the background checks area. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, you know, it was probably in my time with internal affairs. He said, although that was not necessarily my favorite time of my 20 years in the department. He said, again, it was just one of those things where you went in and you did your job, and you know, that's what I could tell when I talked with Jim. He likes to do the job. He felt like, you know, when I asked him what he liked most, he said, again, the county was a great place to work, great benefits, cared for the people. And he said the people I've had a chance to meet over the 20 years that I've been with them have just been a real blessing and a great bunch of folks. As we were talking, Jim, this is kind of Jim's second career. He was a banker and used to work at the old Fort Worth National Bank building, our bank, and we got to talking and realized that he was in there when I was actually with Ernst & Ernst and auditing the bank, and we actually worked together on some audits, him being on the bank side and me being on the external auditor side. So I mentioned him, I said, I thought your name sounded familiar, and sure enough, as we dug back, we came across that that place where our paths crossed before. Jim, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Thank you. Next was Cora Payne. Cora spent 20 years with CSCD. However, Cora got called out of town and wasn't able to make it. So again, when Cora gets back, if you see her, be sure and thank her for the 20 years that she's given us. Next is Patricia Benavides from Elections Administrator. There she is. Started out in elections, and right after she started, I guess there was an elections going on. Right after elections kind of became the elections department. She started off as a clerk. She's now the voter registration manager. When I asked her about the more memorable moments, and this, as I've talked with folks from elections, I've really begun to get this understanding of what goes on over there. You know, they said, well, they talked about the overtime, but then I worked the overtime. And there is no way to describe it until you've worked it. And for an election, it is just an amazing amount of time that you end up spending getting ready for, getting through, and wrapping up an election. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, again, because of the time spent and because of what you go through in those elections, she said that the department and that the folks actually really become your second family. There's always something going on. And this is something that she mentioned that I hadn't really thought of either. You know, I think many of us kind of think of elections as the primary and the general election, and it happens every other year, and you say, oh, there must not be anything else going on. So, you know, it's kind of like you just get past those two elections every other year, and everything's great. But there, as she mentioned, there is always an election going on. Well, right now we're in the middle of school board. We're in the middle of city elections. We're in the middle of, I guess, TCC, the water board. So all of these elections are going on, and we just, you know, sometimes I think we just take for granted that, well, those are cities or that, but most of those elections we take care of. These folks take care of it. And so needless to say, the job is never boring. When I asked her if there was anything else, she said, you know, just over the years, it has been a great experience. We can't tell you how much we appreciate the job that you've done for Tarrant County. Thank you very, very much. 25 years. Thank you again. Next is Archie Hicks with the Sheriff Confinement Area, 25 years. There's Archie back there. Started out just like everybody, you know, 25 years ago, there was only one facility, and it was the old Belknap facility. Has worked in every facility that the county has had. Spent 7 years in the release. Has worked the back door. Spent about the last 5 years really as a sergeant in booking, and then just recently was transferred back out to the Cold Springs area. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, well, it's hard to tie down one, but he said, when you work the back door, you see a lot of stuff. And so that was the thing that he remembered most about his time with the county. He said he really enjoyed the job. He said, you know, when I started here, I was 24, and you know that it has really been an experience. He really enjoys the stability and the ability to plan for the future that the county gives him with those deals. And then it was the variety of the people over the years, over the 25 years that he's had a chance to work with. There was a couple of them this time when a lot of times folks will say, boy, the time has just flown by. There were probably about 3 or 4 this time that said, most of the time it flies by. But there was 2 or 3 that had said, yeah, but there was times when it was kind of dragging. But Archie said he has really enjoyed his time with the county, and I want to tell you, Archie, we appreciate very, very much the 25 years you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Joe White, Sheriff Confinement, 25 years. There's Joe. Started out at Belknap, then went to 350, then to the Corrections Center as the security control sergeant in the Corrections Center, and is now at Cold Springs. You know, when I talked with him about memorable moments, he said, you know, I can look back and there were good days and there were bad days. He said, but I think that's the way it kind of is with every job. Again, it's the people sometimes that are around you that boost you up on those bad days, and then hopefully on those good days you're you're boosting people up and helping them through the process. You know, he had planned to work here for about 5 years, and before he knew it, he looked up and it had been 25 years. Joe, we want to thank you very much for the 25 years of service you've given us. Next is Debbie Willman, the county clerk, 25 years. There's Debbie. Started out in the accounting area and then moved to the probate area where she's now the probate supervisor. When she first went to work for the county, she was interviewed by Mr. Huffman. And, you know, I guess there was a couple of openings, and she said, he kind of took me and he showed me the two areas, and he said, which one do you want to work in? And so she picked her area, and that's where she started. She said also when she was thinking of memorable moments, when Suzanne was elected, she said Suzanne has done a great job, and she's been a real inspiration to her. She said when she lost her husband, the department really helped her get through that. And again, I think it's one of those things where the employees are there to circle around, kind of circle the wagons, and to help you with whatever way and with whatever needs you need. She said the folks are like a family. She loves the security of the job and the variety that the job gives her, that every day is kind of a new day, and you know, it's always a little different. Over the years, she said she has really appreciated the managers that she's had a chance to work with. Debbie, we want to thank you for the 25 years you've given. Next is Judge Sharon Wilson. I wasn't sure Sharon was going to make it. I saw her come in, then I saw her leave, and I thought I should have caught her before she left. She's got a jury that she's trying to get selected. So I appreciate very much you being here. Started out in the DA's office in the intake area back at those days. Instead of starting them off as the, do you need to go type something?
She's not behaving.
She's actually been with us 27 years. She's another one of these that, you know, was with the DA's office, left for a couple of years to go into private practice, and then on May the 2nd, 1990, she was appointed to replace Judge Stearns, who was being, I believe, elevated at that time to the appeals court, Court of Appeals. So, in effect, she has just celebrated her 20 years as being a judge, and she's celebrating again 25 years, although she's been with us for 27. I keep forgetting. I know I've asked this before, but you're going to have to come and explain it to me again. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, first off, she said, I do enjoy the stability of the county. But she said, one of the things I am very thankful for is the fact that the voters have continued to return her to office now 5 times, and that she is very proud to serve and takes her position extremely seriously. And, you know, I think that as I think back, and Judge Wilson, I know that she's tough, but she's always fair. And I think, you know, she said, as I said, she wasn't sure she was going to make it over here today. She's getting ready to start a trial, and, you know, it'll be a good trial. And I know that as she always sits on that bench, she always does a good job, and tries to be fair as they go through that process. Sharon, we thank you very, very much for the 27 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Last is Susan Boudreau, District Attorney's Office, 30 years. Was Susan not able? She wasn't sure she was going to be able to make it down. I don't see her. She started off in the secretarial pool and has been in intake for most of the time. Spent some time in the narcotic and auto task force area. If you see Susan today, thank her for the 30 years of service that she's given to Tarrant County. That's it for this particular month. Again, as I said, when we go out this afternoon, we have 66 people who have been 20, 25, 30, 35 years of service with this county. So for those of y'all who are 5, 10, and 15, I'm looking forward to recognizing you. For those that you are 20, 25, 30, and maybe even that 35 years, I'm looking forward to hitting you for your next 5-year increment. So again, congratulations, and thank you very much for your service. Refreshments, 504C. Go ahead and start back. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Maines.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 2 additional items for you this morning. The first is a request from the county clerk as an exception to the county's travel policy as it relates to the attendance of the NACO meeting, which is going to be held in Billings, Montana on May 25th through the 29th.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the Court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Court approve the tax-exempt financing by the Orchard Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corp. in a maximum principal amount of $7 million for the benefit of Goodwill Industries of Fort Worth for certain facilities located in Tarrant County. What they intend to do with the $7 million is to refinance structures that are in Grapevine, Fort Worth, and Arlington, and they're also intending to construct a 15,000 square foot building in Saginaw. We have contacted each of the city managers' offices in those 4 cities to make sure that they're aware of this and if they had any concerns, which they do not. Goodwill Industries has provided a letter as it relates to our HUD policy. They have also made a statement in that document that there is no known restrictions placed on their properties or other property in Tarrant County owned by Goodwill that would restrict the current or future use of the property for either health or governmental activities.
Move approval.
Second, Orchard is not one of our entities.
No, that's correct, and this is a good example of another health facilities corporation actually passing those bonds or approving those bonds, but they need to come into the jurisdiction where the money is going to be spent and get approval from the local taxing entity.
Okay. Occasionally, we will vote on bonds for outside of our area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Then are they, on those situations, are those courts also having to vote on this?
Yes, either the courts or the city councils.
Okay.
The reason that we had this one is because it's actually located in 4 different municipalities in Tarrant County.
Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
GK, did you by any chance find out where Orchard was?
Not yet. It's in the back 40 somewhere.
Ms. Snyder? Do you know where Orchard is?
If you only knew how funny that question is to me. Ask me if I know right and left, and most of the time I'll tell you no.
Who's next?
Risk Management Board is recommending the payment of the claim as listed on your agenda in the amount of $5,000.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, Ray. Wait a minute. Don't get excited here.
He's going to tell you where Orchard, Texas
You're not
is.
up yet. But now, if you know where Orchard is, you can sneak in here.
I can tell you.
I do.
I know where it is.
Wait a minute. Let him see if he can.
Hey, I do too, but
And that would be
it's the intersection of 36 and Farm to Market Road, 1489, wherever the heck that is.
Fort Bend County,
Okay.
Oh,
west of Rosenberg.
36 Division Memorial
He
Highway.
hadn't Googled it yet.
it's a geography quiz.
It's loading.
It's between Rosenberg and Wallace on Highway 36.
It takes a while.
You were
College
close.
down there.
You had it.
Would you like to
I'd love to.
conduct some business?
I'd love to. We have a check in the amount, a subrogation check in the amount of $7,448.35, requesting authorization for the auditor to cash same.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Rayburn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've actually been to the town of Orchard, Texas. But
you didn't know where it was?
Yes. I'm not sure if this is the same orchard, but there is a wide spot in the road in Fort Bend County,
That would be it.
which is my
Pecan
former
country.
home. Yes.
Pecan Orchard.
So, good morning. Here this morning, requesting that the court consider whether to require the city of Dalworthington Gardens to reimburse the county for a portion of the cost of the local option liquor election that we conducted for them November 2009.
Why is this an issue now?
Well, it's taken us this long to calculate and allocate all the costs from the November election from last year. The law says that the county pays for the cost of a local option election in municipalities that are within a single county. However, the law also says that the county may require the city to reimburse the county for the cost of the election. So I'm here for you guys to consider whether to have them reimburse us for that $4,446.75.
Was this discussed with them before the election?
That it was a possibility, as far as I know, yes, it was.
Is it our standard policy to seek such reimbursement?
This is the first local option election that the county has conducted since probably 1994. At the time, the procedures were a little bit different, and the county collected a deposit from the person who circulated the petitions. But advice from the Secretary of State says that that was not the way that should be handled, that it's the county's responsibility to bear the cost of the election, but the statute says that in a municipality, the county may require, and that's the word that it uses, may require, yes, the city to reimburse the county.
Were there other entities that we charged any fee to for the November election?
Yes, sir. Other entities that held election on that day did pay a pro rata cost of the election.
And what were those? Give me some examples.
I don't have that information with me, Judge, but we did conduct other elections that municipalities and school boards called and held elections. In this case, the county had to call the election.
Like bond elections and things like
yes,
that,
sir.
Because it was an off-year type deal.
Yes, sir.
But in this case, we did what?
We charged those folks, right?
Right, but those elections were called by those entities. This election, the court called the election because that's what the election code requires. The county held the election, but as I said, the statute said we can require them to reimburse us.
And this is the first time since the rules changed that we've...
Yes.
And it was discussed with them prior to...
Who would have initiated the call for the election?
The court.
We did.
We didn't all of a sudden just wake up some morning and decide we were going to call
Yes,
the
there was someone circulated petitions. They got enough signatures to put this on the ballot, and the court had to order the election.
Okay. So somebody within the city wanted to do this. They organized, they got the petitions all signed, and then they brought it to us because we're the ones that had to call the election.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I'll move approval.
I think he did.
We've got a motion. We need a second.
Oh, okay, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a professional services contract with Kleinfelder for construction materials testing services for the new maximum security jail building and the Corrections Center fire alarm and security replacement project.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I will, while you're here, even though I haven't gotten to the Sheriff's Department, thank you for, once again, Tarrant County past jail inspection.
Thank you.
And I know your folks are always involved with that, as are obviously the Sheriff's Department, but they're kind of surprising us now, coming in for surprise visits, but we still passed, and I'm sure that we are the longest urban county jail to consecutively pass
16 years.
16 years, and so we're very proud of y'all and the job that you do, as well as the Sheriff's Department and everything they do, because all of the other urban county jails have recently failed, and I'm very proud of the fact that I can continue to go around and poke
We're glad you can do that, too.
my friends around the state about the fact that they have sometimes not been able to pass the jail inspections.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, and your credit.
It's on 59 out of Houston.
we passed the first time when I served on the Jail Standards Commission.
Well, hopefully that's because we passed and not because you were on there.
Exactly.
Move approval to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr.
Mr. Beecham.
Did you know where Orchard, Texas?
We have orchards in Arkansas, several of them.
Do you know what the population of Orchard, Texas is?
About 3, probably. I knew there was a 3 in there
There's
somewhere.
at least that many people on the pictures on their website.
300?
Would you like to continue?
Please.
Go right ahead.
We have one bid award recommendation for the court's consideration this morning. It's in regards to our RFP number 2010-053. This is an RFP for fabrication and purchase of early voting workstations. Our recommendation would be to award a company called Election Works, the amount of $274,420.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next up is an interlocal agreement. But before we get to that, Sheriff, if you're back there, you and Chief Knowles, I do want to thank and recognize you in your department again for the outstanding job that y'all do. Again, it's day-to-day business. It's not something that you prepare for, and that's what's most impressive about it. So I'd like to let you make any comments you'd like to make, but congratulations again.
Thank you, Judge. We've bragged for the last 10 years that we could pass jail inspection any day, and this year we got our bluff called. We said, we always knew 30 or 45 days out when the jail inspectors were coming, and the new policy is they just show up on a Monday and knock on your door and say we're here. And needless to say, we believed strongly that we could pass, but no doubt when you had that date circled on a calendar, you worked toward it, and you continued to spiff things up and do things and get ready for it. So it really was a validation that we are every day meeting and exceeding the jail standards. And I get a lot of credit for it, and Chief Knowles gets a lot of credit for it, and well deserved. This is 27 in a row for Chief Knowles when you go back to Dallas County. But Bob, and I'll be the first to tell you, and you thanking David was something that we can't do enough of. I mean, I cannot tell you the cooperation and the commitment we get out of facilities when jail inspection is here or coming or around the corner or anything. So, our appreciation to them and literally the hundreds of people. I mean, if you saw the work that went on and you saw the people that are so proud of when we pass that inspection, I mean, the everyday people that work in those jails are the people that make it happen. And it's just it's a great thing to see, and we couldn't do it without the support of everyone, including the court and all of the support that you give us. So we're very proud. It's 10 in a row for me, and I'm way behind Bob, but we're very proud, and we showed we could do it. The inspection this year was very difficult. It's kind of taken on a new tone. It's very interesting. They looked at things that they never previously looked at, and we stood up to the test. So we're very proud. Thank you.
Well, again, congratulate everyone, both in your department and David and yours. Please pass that on to everyone involved, and thank you for the work you do.
I appreciate it.
I'd like to make... Sheriff, hold on. Sheriff, hold on. I'd like to make the comment that for the first time I had the pleasure of sitting in on the debriefing and signing off on the inspection report. And the two inspectors had nothing but glowing comments about not only our jail and its employees and the way it is operated, but also about the facilities department. They came in here looking for things, and we can all speculate as to the reasons why that should be true, but they came in here looking for things on the assumption that y'all couldn't be that good. Well, they discovered that our jail is that good, and it's that good each and every day. And they went on to say that every time they come into our jail and do an inspection, they walk away with a best practice that they can take to other jails around the state. So we should be extremely proud of Sheriff Anderson, Chief Knowles, but also David Phillips, Clarence Presley, and that whole crew. They cited examples where they came across maintenance items during the course of their inspection, went to lunch, and by the time they came back, that item was corrected on the spot that day. That's cooperation that they do not see in any other urban jail around the state. So congratulations to both the Sheriff's Department and facilities. You guys do a phenomenal job.
Thank you, Commissioner. Very kind. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, I believe you have an interlocal agreement today.
Yes, I do. I move approval of item A, M1, A, and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any appointments?
Yes, at the request of Gerald Smith, the Director of Human Services, we need to replenish the Human Services Advisory Committee. Consequently, at their request, I submit the following names for appointment to that board for terms beginning February 2010 and ending March 2012. Faye Beaulieu, June Davis, Kelly Rod, Randy Clinton, and Deborah Kratke. The first four being reappointments, Deborah Kratke being a new appointment, and for a term beginning March 2009 and ending February 2011, a new appointment, Carolyn Henry. I move approval of those appointments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Any other appointments? You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move for approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, we do not have any briefing items at this time.
Okay. We'll now adjourn our open. We'll now recess.
Oh, those are good.
Are they?
Oh, yeah, those are great.
What are we waiting on?
Him to sit down.
Oh.
Having returned from closed session and there not being any business conducted this time, we are adjourned.
You were stopping us from adjourning.
Was I?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.